In the year 1917, Russia stood on the edge of a knife. The world was in flames. World War I raged across Europe, empires crumbled, and in the icy streets of Petrograd, revolution was brewing. The Romanovs, who had ruled Russia for over 300 years, were about to fall, and in their place would rise something no one had ever seen before: a communist state. Let's go back a bit to understand how it all began. Russia in the early 20th century was vast, poor, and deeply unequal. The Tsar, Nicholas II, ruled with absolute power, while millions of peasants toiled in poverty. Industrial workers in cities like Moscow and Petrograd worked long hours in miserable conditions. Ideas of revolution, long whispered in secret meetings, began to spread like wildfire. Then came World War I. It was a disaster for Russia. Soldiers were poorly equipped, starving and dying in the millions. The home front was no better. Food shortages, inflation, and chaos consumed daily life. People lost faith in the Tsar. Even the army began to crumble. By early 1917, the pressure exploded into the February Revolution. Mass protests erupted, workers went on strike, soldiers mutinied, and in March 1917, Tsar Nicholas II abdicated. The monarchy was gone. In its place, a provisional government was formed, a group of liberal and moderate leaders who promised elections, reforms, and democracy. But they made a crucial mistake. They decided to keep Russia in the war. That's when the Bolsheviks stepped in. Led by a fiery revolutionary named Vladimir Lenin, the Bolsheviks were a radical Marxist faction. They believed that the workers and peasants should seize power and that capitalism had to be overthrown completely. Lenin, who had been exiled in Europe, returned to Russia with a clear mission: revolution. His message was simple but powerful: peace, land, and bread. Peace for the soldiers, land for the peasants, bread for the hungry, and most importantly, all power to the Soviets. The councils of workers and soldiers who were increasingly frustrated with the provisional government. Throughout 1917, tensions built. The Bolsheviks gained followers, factories, military units, and entire cities began to support them. Then in November by today's calendar, they struck. In what's now known as the October Revolution, the Bolsheviks led an armed insurrection in Petrograd. They stormed the Winter Palace, arrested members of the provisional government, and declared victory. It was swift and relatively bloodless. In just a few days, Lenin and the Bolsheviks were in control. What followed was chaos and transformation. The Bolsheviks began reshaping Russia. They pulled the country out of World War I by signing the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with Germany, a deal that cost Russia huge chunks of territory. They nationalized land, banks, and factories. They abolished the old nobility and outlawed political opponents. But not everyone accepted this new order. Civil war broke out. Reds, the Bolsheviks, against whites, a mix of monarchists, liberals, and foreign forces. It was brutal, with millions dead from war, famine, and disease. But by 1922, the Bolsheviks had won. From the ashes, they formed the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR. It was the first communist state in history. The Bolshevik Revolution changed the world. It inspired revolutions across the globe and created a new superpower that would dominate the 20th century. But it also came with great cost: repression, purges, and decades of authoritarian rule. Still at its heart, the Bolshevik Revolution was a story of people who had nothing, no rights, no food, no power, rising up to demand a different future. A story of ideology, struggle, and the burning desire to remake society. In 8 short months, Russia went from an empire to a republic to a socialist state, and nothing was ever the same again. Thank you for listening to Explained Under 5 Minutes.